My name is John Stern, and I'm with Methods Workshop in South Florida. Thank you for taking the time to review the new Quick True Cost version 9. This is our opening screen, and as you can see, it is much changed for those of you who used our product in version 8. I'm going to log on, and then I'll tell you the rest of the story. Basically, this is our license page. It has the client and server version. It has the customer name, their address, what kind of license they have, and the number of users. Some of the other buttons are, this is where you would go for analysis. This is additional cost factors. This is where you use your user groups to add IDs and passwords for your people. You can add additional lookups to hasten the search routines for the styles you've already created. You can add different locations for the manufacturing process, and you can also add individual factories with their own performance levels and cost of labor cost. Let's go into the analysis quickly and review what's going on. If I'm not going to search for routine, I can just search without criteria, and the entire database will come up. I'm going to look at 10094. I just have to double click, and the style number, the model name, and the description of this costing will come up immediately. It is under a search routine of a blouse. I can add actually a factory to this. Let's use a partner plant at $6 an hour, efficiency of 90%. The PF&D sewing and manual allowance is 25 and 15, and I can actually also add a location. Let's go to Mexico. We haven't done some work in Mexico in a while. The first deal would be look at media files. We've already added a dress to this, which can be seen when we bring this up. So there's a picture of a dress, which is the dress that we've actually done a costing on, and so it's very easily manipulated, it's very easily to import, and it is part of the storage of the style when we do save this particular costing. Move on to sew inches. We would actually, or centimeters, depending on how you set up the system originally, but you actually ID every part of the garment and then put the actual distance onto the file. The next tab is seams. A seam has a description of when you start the sew and cut the thread at the end. A seam may have more than one, because you have a shoulder seam of 2. So this particular line item has 2 seams. Set sleeve has 2. The close end has 2. Anything with the number 2 next to it, you know it has 2 seams. Moving on to parts, this is very simple. You just go into the product and actually move the you actually calculate anything that comes off the sewing table or gets input from your sundries into the file and how many pieces they are. Obviously, as far as the system works, anything that's a cut part needs to be picked up and added to the assembly, which is where we have figured the labor. Match point is a little more, probably the most difficult part of the program, because it really includes or has to contemplate how the product was used or sewn in the factory. This is the most of the engineering part of our costing process, because you have to know how the product is sewn in order to figure out many of these match points. Everything else is really counting by the numbers. So this particular outside collar edge, it actually had 2 pieces because it had 2 match points because it had a curved end. The front facing had 4. The attached collar seam had 4 match points. A match point is, the definition is when you start the sew and the end is always 1 match point, and then anything that happens from start to finish as far as a stop and alignment is considered a match point. Moving on to corners. A corner is any time you go to a place where you needle down and take a perpendicular sew. A back tack is catching the thread into the sewn seam itself. Buttons are simple. Number of buttons on the product. Buttonholes, there's not always a buttonhole for a button, obviously in the design of the product. A bar tack is similar to the area for putting the belt loops on or something. That would be a bar tack. And last but not least is a snap or gripper used in children's wear and items such as that. The next item would be, or the next tab would be actually seeing what this course sheet is. And I'm going to move this screen to the left in order to give more room for the printout to be shown. But you have the date that it was done, 4/16/24. It actually calculates the time and date that it was done, the creator or the engineer, and the units of measure, which is imperial or inches. We have two components, either 100% or the factory efficiency of 90. We give you both details here. And of course, then the rest of it is all of the details of the analysis are printed out here. So that is the important part of what's going on. We also have a recaption of the lookups, and we go to the next page. We have more of the same in that these are the actual cost parameters that you can add to the product. They are such as a bill of materials. So there's actually $1.96 of bill of materials that goes into the product, and the grand total is $411.35, whereas the labor you saw above. Going to the next tab, we actually identify all of the inputs that we had are in printout form. So you have a complete copy or record of what this analysis came from. Basically, that's how simple our system is.